through an entire presentation on the 3 Mazda toners and that damn Lexus toner, and I was about to kill somebody. You know, but the point is still the point. By the way, those Mazda toners, you will see those cars in your store. They are not as expensive as that toner, but they're pretty effing expensive.
Yeah, and that's
so.
Well, and that goes to your point, and I know, you know, in a perfect shop repair plan, because
Right.
unfortunately what happens is the car's in the booth, and all of a sudden you're like, pull it up on mix it.
Right.
Why can't I mix this color?
Mhm.
And the whole shop shuts down.
Right.
And you know, that's why getting that a few steps before the car gets in the booth is so important sometimes, because you know, especially on some colors, we stock all of the special effect colors for the most part, but there's always new stuff coming out.
Absolutely.
And it's hard for us to keep on top of it, because for us to keep it in stock too, it's expensive.
Yeah.
So
And the shelf life is like, what?
Oh, the shelf
months?
Yeah.
life,
It's like
some of
zero.
them is super
Yeah.
tiny.
Yeah.
Right? So
On the upside, we did collect on those 2 jobs.
that's all I really care about.
That's the
And
important
the
part.
spray out cost and the spray out time.
That's what I'm talking about, right?
And did you get pushback at all from the
From
insurance?
State Farm, I did, a very tiny bit, but they ended up paying.
But they did
Yeah,
pay,
they did
that's,
pay.
that's important.
And they gave me more.
There you go.
Yeah, as long as you know, have your ducks in a row,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah,
like I
we did.
said earlier, what our industry is really crappy at is proving what we need and why we
Yeah.
need it.
They actually called Mossy Nissan, the State Farm adjuster, just to confirm.
That it was that
And he
much.
called Tom Peacock Nissan as well.
You didn't told the dumbass to call.
was it Argentum? Is that why?
Say again?
Was it Argentum or
Uh,
something?
It was on, what was it on? 370?
It was a Nissan Altima.
Oh,
Ultimate.
Yeah.
But I know like the 370, some of them were like it was like a 6-stage paint.
Well, that's for the GTR's got the
GTR,
Argentum,
yeah.
and that's one where Phil gets that one, and I know, and I'm sure he's shown Matt as well. You get 2 complete paint jobs out of that car because you got to do it that way.
So you gotta paint the entire car?
You have to paint the whole car. You base it, you clear it, and then the next day you have to sand the car, and then you put the actual color on.
Wow.
Because Argentum is that really, really fine-looking silver color that's only found on GTRs as of now. It makes it look really slick, almost like not chrome, but very. The pigments are extremely small,
I know what you're talking about.
so that's why. But yeah, you have to. I mean, the AXO TDS for that process is literally put on just straight silver, doesn't matter, clear coat it, wait overnight, sand the car down, then put Argentum, clear coat it again. That is the TDS from the paint company on how to do that car.
Or you could call State Farm, because I'm sure they got somebody over there that knows how to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
they'll knock it out in 3 hours.
We got to re-inspect that. Those.
Oh, I know,
things
they
look
all
like-
think they know, trust me. I was being sarcastic, obviously. Maybe I am anti insurance.
Maybe, well, we needed help me, because I told them, hey, well, you insured the damn car.
Exactly, that's one of my stories, right? I tell people all
Well,
the time.
I got that from you.
Did you? Yeah, see, I tell people, here, and this is pretty good too. It's hard for them to debate this shit, right? So when they sit and tell me they didn't want to pay for stuff, I would tell them, you know, look, I'm not trying to fight with you, but you didn't call me and ask me if I thought you should insure Mrs. Jones's Argenta, whatever GTR. It's not my problem. I don't. You see what I'm saying? You chose to insure the red car.
Or you assume liability.
And now you're liable for it. But see, when I say that story, I say it because, and I'm going to talk, actually I won't get ahead of myself. I personally think you should invoice them for paint material on every single job that comes in because of what I just said, which is they decided to insure the white car, the red car, the green car, and guess what? The paint's a different price for each one of those cars. And they owe to put that car back to pre-rec. You see what I'm saying? So this whole math that we use is insane. They should get an invoice every time. Now the problem, back to what Mitch said, is if you're not on top of that from the get in the beginning and you're trying to invoice that shit at the end, you're not going to do it. A, you're too busy to do it, and B, it's just too much hassle, right? But if you implement, you know, figuring out your color earlier in the process, quite honestly at disassembly it can be done, then you know, right, that as soon as you know the car's not a total and you know what you've got to paint, and you've taken a picture, right, which is where it's going to go, folks, by the way. Like I told you, the photo planes is here to stay. Well, you can tell your painters that that variant deck that is like his blankie that he holds on to, that thing's going away. It would actually already be gone right now if we didn't have a bunch of prima donna painters across the country that acted like we were taking their blankie away. And this is not an AXO thing, by the way. This is the 5 big paint companies thing. You are going to be matching colors with a camera. Your variant deck is going to be gone, right? So there's an advantage to that. If you have the camera in your hand, I can train anybody to run this camera, okay? As soon as the car's in disassembly, I can go up and do the little 6-step process, take the picture, and then it shoots that information to your painter on the computer. And it tells he or she is, hey, here's what your mix is. To Mitch's point, if we all of a sudden like, whoa, we don't have this toner, right? Why is that? You know, and then we do some quick research, we find out real quick, it's a specialty toner, it's super expensive, whatever, right? It tells us all that stuff. Not to mention, if you don't have the match, you now are way up further in the process, and we got plenty of times to get a tech rep over to you. Does that make sense? As opposed to what we normally do in this industry, which is the car's in the booth, holy shit, it doesn't match, help, right? That's what we do, right? And that doesn't always work out so good, you know? So, keep that in mind. When it comes to mix it, again, I'm no expert, but mix it, use it to your advantage. Definitely get it set up where a job costs for you. Certainly make sure your paint team is mixing across the scale, so you know what was put on that car. You can then run accuracy reports to see how well they mix, right? We may find out that they overmix all the time, you know? Could be why their colors don't hit. It also could just be a material profitability issue, quite honestly, right? But you can, if we make them mix across a scale, we can pull all kinds of information out of mix it that will help us, right? So,
I have a question.
yes, sir.
So before we continue, how do you like justify or charge? So this, for instance, you know, painter makes 3 color match, you know, 3
Spray
mixes,
outs.
3 spray outs. Are you gonna charge for that, or how do you charge for that?
Yeah, I'm gonna charge for it. You can go into the P pages and it says real quick in there that the actual spray out card is not part of the actual paint time. You just got done fighting this, right? Isn't that what you do?
Yeah, I just pretty much hit them up, let them know, hey, well, I gotta do a spray out for
Right.
this vehicle.
You charge
So-
color tinting.
Yeah, it's
well,
under
we're charging
10.
color tinted, but still you have
You have to
to.
fight for the time, you know.
Yeah, you have to
always
fight for the
involved.
time.
It's
I mean-
very, it's rare when they actually ask for the actual spray out, but, I always hit them up for it.
But you go back to the sprayer cards, take a
Yeah.
picture of it, send it out to them and say, hey, I have to do all of this.
That's exactly what I did one time. I think AJ wasn't there, but it was I think it was a Ford, it was a RR, a Ford, I forgot what it was, I think it was a Taurus or something. And we actually did the spray out, we hit it with the camera and it came out really good, base and clear, surprisingly. And we did a spray out and we took a picture of it and I actually billed the insurance company and I billed them for spray out. And they asked me, well, do you have a documentation of the actual spray out? And I actually went back and told my guy, hey, let me see that spray out, put it next to the car, it was a perfect match. And sent him the picture and they paid for it. And actually gave me 3 hours for a spray out,
Wow.
just on a spray out.
Because I have a lot of issues.
Yeah, it's a
RR.
fight, it's a fight, it's still a fight.
Yeah.
You know.
It's a fight, but.
You're not gonna get 3 hours everywhere.
No.
On the RR, yeah.
Half hour maybe.
But I will tell you this, is that if you're consistent about asking for these things, it's more of a fight in the beginning, right? But if all of a sudden they're used to the fact that, hey, Mossy Nissan's gonna ask me for tint on every damn car that comes through here, at some point, as soon as you, well, just like in your case, you had the proof to back up why you did. If you're consistent about doing that, you're gonna have less pushback, right, as time goes on, you know?
What I did with that, I'd asked my painter for the spray out, and he was watching me taking pictures, like, what the hell are you doing? He thought I was weird, and I actually came back when it was time to flag, I gave him 2 hours. Now, of course, we stayed an hour for the shop, you know, don't judge me, but, I gave him 2 hours, he's like, what's this for? The spray out you did. Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, then he's gonna start doing
And
the
he-
spray car for
yeah.
everything.
And
Yep,
thankfully, I
and
think,
that is a great tool for him
It's a
too.
win-win
you know.
situation.
It's a great tool for
yeah,
you.
and it was great. I mean, he liked it, he enjoyed it, he appreciated it, and I'm not sure if he's still doing it, but that was Jaime, AJ. I'm not think he's still doing spray outs. Yeah, he's
He's off and on.
off and on.
No.
Off and on.
But to your point, I think you said it, you know, if you can get a painter in the habit of doing his spray outs, once they build a library, they will get to the point where they don't have to do that many damn spray outs anymore. It's getting them to get to that point, right? That, you know,
Yeah, but
that they do it consistently and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, you know, hell, I've got this one.
I think to answer your question, Jose, the biggest thing is just to have that documentation.
Yeah.
Take that picture.
Because I mean, I had that 800J, the GM.
Yeah.
That's something shaped to that grant. And it was just a bumper job, you know. I had to fight it, you know, eventually they did pay for it, but.
Yeah,
you know,
fight them.
Yeah.
Especially a bumper job.
What
Yeah.
company was it?
American Access.
Oh, God, I know who they are. Usually the smaller ones are easier, but sometimes you just get you know, that's the thing, sometimes you're always gonna get a crazy, you know, no matter what insurance company it is. All we can really do on our end is be consistent about documentation, whether it's pictures, whether it's pulling P-page, whether it's pulling stuff from the OE, whether it's taking a letter from the paint company that says you cannot solvent blend our clear, right? Which we have that letter, you know? You know, it's those kind of things and being able to push back, right? And that's still not a perfect fix, right? Because you're still gonna have that person that wants to argue, right? My comment to insurance people is all the time is if you wanna see this industry change, quit paying your people. So they stiff their people on cost containment, right?
How low they get,
Yeah.
that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and so, but see where that's an issue, right? Because they're in there, their whole goal is to cut something off of your sheet. If they don't, then they failed, right? Or they're working their pay plan. You can hardly fault them for that. Everybody on our end works their pay plan too. My estimators work their pay plan all the time, right? So that's what those people are doing. The problem is, in my opinion, is they're putting the public safety at risk, partly because of their pay plan. Partly because they're so full of themselves that they think they know more than the engineers do that make the car. But the other part is that the pay plans that they have in place actually facilitate,
Shortcut.
yeah, shortcuts. Yep, yep. That's like back in the day when we used to let painters, I never did this, but shops used to, because they just didn't want to deal with it, they just have the distributor sell paint directly to the painter, right? Well, the painter was in charge of his own material, and then he got the delta of the sales that they did in the office versus what he spent. Do you see the inherent problem with that, right? So the painter's just going to buy the cheapest shit he or she can buy. They may lay it on thin too, for that matter, because he's working his pay plan. You see what I mean? So that's a scary scenario for me, right? I don't see a whole hell of a lot of that anymore. And I'm not saying you can't even make that work, you know, where your painter does that. But you gotta manage it still, right? You know. Plus on top of that, you're giving up an entire bucket of where you can make money, which makes 0 sense to me, right? So, I'm all about paying everybody fairly, but I mean, it's already hard to make money at a collision center. The average shop drops between 7 and 10 points to their bottom line, okay? That's not a big number. So you have to run pretty damn efficient to hit that number, or own land.
Yeah, and that's the problem too, especially with this market, is there's so many, there's a dime a dozen, so everybody's gonna be cheaper.
Oh, yeah.
And then you can get into a pissing contest with an insurance company or whoever. Like I said, they'll just phase you out.
Yep.
Nothing hard to do, because,
Yeah.
you know, Mr. Smith over here is gonna do it
For
10%
less,
cheaper,
yeah.
not cheaper. So that's where everybody's gotta be on the same page.
That's
Yeah.
the biggest problem you get, like you said, Greg, you have these backyard shops that are, these insurance companies, the lizard goes to this shop first, that backyard shop, and well, that shop didn't do this, they just look at the amounts and pay out this car. They come to us and say, well, why am I gonna pay this if I just didn't pay it over here?
Right. And they've been told at the water cooler that you're just trying to screw them. You know what I mean, by their upper management, you know, so it's.
We always are,
that's a
right?
deal. You are, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, now the flip side of that is, right, everything you said is true, but what's shifted in our industry right now is our customer base has changed, okay? okay? So, and what I mean by that is they're not as easily steered, right? My daughter, who's 16, if, of course, she's too young to be dealing with her own stuff now, but here in a few years she will. I can promise you, if she gets told to go somewhere, she's getting on Google and she's gonna see if you have good reviews. And if your reviews suck, she's gonna tell State Farm, I ain't taking my car there. Those people, have you looked at their reviews? They're horrible, right? So that's another way that they're losing control. The OEs are getting involved, the customer base is changing. You know, my era that would be steered a lot easier, not being steered as much. So you can start to make an argument, and I have shops starting to do it with a proper marketing plan and a lot of other things that you may, like especially in a dealer, you may be able to survive without direct repair. That's all I'm saying. But you don't know because.
Yeah, no, because you're so heavily.
Yeah, because you're so entrenched
Relying
and
on it.
your management system won't tell you any different because we don't track, right, where those cars are really coming from. So I'm
Or
just
if they
using you
would've-
for an
or-
example,
or
so
if they
State
would've
Farm will
been
come in
there-
and tell you that, hey, look, 50% of your business is State Farm. But if you went out there and looked at all of those cars, and of course like we've